Hello there, I'm Bi, and before we start, I just have to say that this is my first ever video. Oh me, oh my. So I'm not exactly used to this whole video making process. So I might not be the best at explaining things. My editing might not be that good. My microphone is certainly shit, and most importantly, I don't have the budget to upgrade my PNG tuber. So so, sadly, I don't have the budget to fit my creative vision. I am not alive, Judy. But anyway, let's try to ignore that, please. Let's just move on to the thing that you all clicked for. Jevil! Oh, and Spamton is here too. Am I afraid? Oh, I sure as hell am afraid. You don't even know. I might be afraid of a lot of things, but recording my first video is one of them. I want to cry right now. Anyway, what is this video about? Well, it's about redesigning Jevil as if he was from the Cyber City and Spamton as if he was from the Card Kingdom. I'm not talking about an AU where they switch roles. This is about a headcanon that I have that says that Darkners must change their appearance when they travel to a different Dark World. I am going to explain this in a future video. This is actually a 3-part video series about this little headcanon slash theory of mine. They will be explaining the what, why, and how. This is the what. Now, before we jump right into it, if you don't like the way that I talk, or you think that I jump all over the place, you can go to the description and find my Tumblr post explaining this exact thing but less rambly. But the thing is, you'll have to read. And we all know that that is for losers. That's why it needed to be in a video. So let me continue this video. If chapter 3 and 4 come out, we think that it's around whenever this video gets uploaded, and prove this whole theory wrong, then I'm going to cry and then pretend that I didn't see anything. Probably. Now, I want to explain this thing again, but I don't exactly know how to, so I'll try my best. Card Kingdom and Cyber City have their own separate styles. We know that. Yeah. The Card Kingdom is in an abandoned classroom, and so its residents are a lot of toys. Darkness based on toys and games. But the Cyber City is inside the computer room, so its darkness revolve around computers. What we'll be doing is taking a darkner from one dark world and then changing it so it looks like it was from a different dark world. Did that make sense? No? Oh well, I don't know what to do other than that. Let us begin with the one and only Jevil. The first thing that we need to do is take the object that he is based on and see if it can reasonably match the theming of Cyber City. Let's see. Come here, Jevil. Joker card. Now, that might seem good at first because Windows Solitaire exists and we can base Jevil on that. But the sad thing is that there is no Joker card in the Windows Solitaire. Jevil is not just a card, he's the Joker card. So we need to find something more unique to him. What I have decided to base Jevil on is a prank slash joke computer program because he's a Joker man. And secondary to that, I added chaotic programs because chaos. But because of that, Joker Jevil is no more. We're going to have to get rid of the things that make him the Joker card. Hi ho ho holla there. If you think that the audio sounds a bit different, no you don't. Besides, you're in too much shock from when I recorded my audio with my microphone about a kilometer away. Isn't that right, honey bun? But anyway, let's pretend that it's not a couple of days later. It's still the same day, it's still the same recording, it's still the same video. But I want to go back really quick and clarify some things that I don't think that I explained quite well. I don't think I explained quite well why Jevil couldn't be the Joker card. If Jevil needs to look like he's from the Cyber City, then he needs to be based on computer stuff. But there is no Joker card in computers, so we need to change a little bit what he's based on. I don't know if I even explained that well. I don't know, goobity gabber. Bleh. Let's just start. I'm gonna fucking die. From now on, he will be prank programs and chaos programs. Explaining you is no longer my problem. Okay, let's take away Jevil's jokerness and see what happens. Oh god! He's so ugly! Oh no, what have I done? How the fuck do I fix this? Well, we'll start with Jevil's puffy color or whatever the fuck that's called first because it's the most easy. Instead of a puffy collar or triangles, to make it more computery, I turn it into a stack of CDs. Most common CDs are grey, but that will clash too much with its face, so I made them yellow to match Joe's original design. Also, I added a red, green and blue stripe to match the effect that regular CDs have. I don't know what it's called, don't inform me. It's nothing too complicated, but it's easily one of my favorite parts of this redesign. Now the problem with him being bald. I will not give him hair. The thing that I'll do is still give him a hat, but it's going to be less of a professional jester hat, more of a sad cosplay of a jester. Because he's not a jester, you see. How we'll do that is by making his hat sad and pathetic. By that I mean they won't be in a nice fun jumpy shape that we see every artist draw their Jevil. His hat looks like it has depression and suicidal thoughts. Also, it will be about 5 sizes too big and so it will never sit nicely on top of his head. It will always be asymmetrical, so it looks like one end is taller than the other, and also it will constantly fall in front of his eyes. And the thing is, he doesn't have the best eyesight, so he probably won't notice for a while. He'll look so stupid. Also, this hat falls off his head all the time. It's very embarrassing, you guys. All this combination makes him having a terrible time with his hat. He's in a one-way abusive relationship with his hat. Very sad. Anyway, let's start with the references. My main inspiration was the Trojan horse of the name of You Are an Idiot. For those who don't know, it's a specific link where if you click it, a pop-up of 3 black and white smiling heads look at you and laugh at you and call you an idiot. It might seem like a lot of nothing, but if you close it, it doesn't disappear, but instead 3 smaller versions of itself appear and start jumping all over the screen. The laughter intensifies. If you try to close more, then more appear and bladder, bladder, bladder. Now your computer is slowing down with how many tabs it has. You'll have to turn off your poor little computer. Goodbye to all your unsafe files. So yeah, this is going to be Jevil this episode. We're gonna decapitate him and put one of those smiling heads instead. Wow, he looks adorable. Now, the differences are mostly how I draw Joe specifically. It might barely change in your art style. But anyway, I still want to explain the differences. His face is now lighter. It might need to be white, but I'm allergic to pure black and white, so I made it pretty light gray. You can make him white if you want to. I drew a Jevil with a slight curve on his mouth, but on the redesign, it will be simpler to match the smile of the You Are an Idiot. Also, his eyes were originally rectangular, now they're oval. I want to take a little bit of your precious time to talk about his eyelashes for a second. In my art style, everyone has eyelashes. It's not just for women. And they all have a uniquely shaped eyelashes. I made original Jevil's eyelashes simple and angular to complement with his squarish eyes. He already has those lines on his eyes, so I didn't want anything to take away from those. While on the redesigns, I need the eyelashes to complement his rounder eyes. So 2 eyelashes work together to make it look like he has a small little cute inverted eyelash, but I didn't want it to be too simple, so I added a small little eyelash to stick out but not break the oval shape too much. Okay, it's time for the audio to probably change again. Oh boy, I love having only a small amount of time I can use to record audio. It's so much fun! Anyway, where did we left off? Oh yeah, the face. Last time I left off, I was explaining to you guys the differences between the old and new Jevil face. But I wasn't able to explain one of the coolest parts! The most iconic thing of the You Are an Idiot is that it switches colors, so I'm gonna add that too. Jevil's face is going to invert colors every time he laughs. The change is going to happen on every ha. I made a little animation showing off what I mean by that. I wanted the text to be white with black borders, but my animation program didn't have that, so if I wanted to do that effect it would be more tedious, so I didn't bother. I will show in the editing what I mean. If any of you guys make a blackface joke / reference, I am going to ground you, mister. Anyway, we're done with the face, now it's time for the bullshit. I'll be adding little references to chaotic programs throughout his design. They're not that important. They're so unimportant that the animation showed one of them and none of you noticed. So let us start with shimejis. Probably not even saying it correctly. I don't know, I don't remember. I don't really want to explain shimejis in all that much detail, partly because I don't really know myself. But in short, shimejis or desktop pets are little dudes that hang around in your desktop and annoy you. That is kind of all that I am able to say. But while I'm talking, you guys will be seeing footage of desktop pets, and hopefully that will make you understand everything. The thing with shimejis that really made me think of Jevil was that they could go wherever they want. They were not limited to just tabs. They could go in the desktop, like in the name suggests. That type of no borders really makes me think of Jevil and how he is just so free. And so I want to add a little reference on him. Shimejis don't have a specific look to them. You can make a shimeji of any character you want really. But one interesting thing about them is that they can interact with the mouse. One particular one can even steal it. And so I put that to Jevil by making his tail into an arrow. Nothing much really. Nothing of these references are much really. I'm sorry. Okay, next thing, lightning round, let's go! Have you guys heard of the bored button? It's a button you click when you're bored and it transports you to a random website. Spontaneous chaos, that's kind of it. I added a red circle on the back of his jacket to symbolize the button. Also something pretty funny is that I added a blue thing that points to the button, enticing you to click it. Ooh. Okay, that's all. The last change I did to Jevil is that I changed his spring neck. Did you remember that? Not many people do. I changed it from a spring to the iconic card animation from Windows Solitaire. Yeah, that's right. I couldn't just not reference Windows Solitaire. His head now jumps all over the screen. Very funny. Now with all the references done, we should be going to Spamton, but not yet. I have not explained to you guys why Jevil has such a drip. Like I told you guys earlier, Jevil could not be a jester in the cyber world, and I couldn't just remove his jester hat. His whole outfit is jestery. So I replaced his cape with a jacket / cardigan, his mittens into regular gloves, his overalls into a belt, and the weird things in the middle into just regular buttons. I didn't really change anything about the feet. Man, I was very tired when I did my last recording. It was very obvious. The energy in my voice was still there, but I didn't want to explain shit at all. It was kinda cute to be honest. Well, now it's the start of a fresh new day, and soon, in 2 hours, I will be going to a circus. I am very excited to go to the circus. It is my home, the place where I belong. And hopefully I can convert that excitement into video content. So let us continue. Like I told you, last time I was very tired and so I didn't want to explain things in too much detail. I just wanted to get it over and done with. But because of that, so many yapping opportunities got wasted. That is very tragic indeed. Sadly, I can't go back to explain them again, but there is one small detail that I forgot to mention last time. Hey, I'm back from the circus. I definitely didn't give up after 5 minutes of recording, no. I was too busy being at the circus. And it was so fun. It was like a little non-romantic date between me, Jevil, and Cherry. It was oh so adorable. Anyway, a detail that I forgot to bring up was a little quirk in Jevil's face when he switches colors. While I'm here, I'll elaborate really quickly about the color switch. Jevil's face color switches from white to black. The black should have been from the lines, but I don't like the look of black line art. The lines from his face switch from gray to white. His teeth become black like the inside of his mouth. The inside of his mouth becomes yellow like his teeth. The color of his tongue switches from purple to dark purple. It should probably be black, but I don't care. And finally, the lines of his tongue switch from dark purple to purple. Only his face switches colors. The rest of his body does not switch colors. Also, his hat does not switch colors as well. We did all that to mimic the, let's say, animation of You Are an Idiot. But something very interesting about this animation is that the face does not entirely change colors. When it inverts its colors, the outlines of his eyes switch to white, but the inside still remains black. That is going to be applied to Jevil as well. The outlines of his eyes might switch to white, but the black of his eyes and his pupils will still remain the same. Coincidentally, it fits well with a different headcanon of mine. Long story short, once Jevil learned the truth about the world, his eyes became black and he stopped seeing through the conventional ways. So the color has kind of a symbolical meaning to it, so if it stays the same even after his whole face inverts colors makes it really interesting. By the way, do you guys want to see how Jevil's eyes looked before? Here's how Jevil's eyes looked before, when he was in the Card Kingdom, and here's how Jevil's eyes looked like if he was in the Cyber City. And because they're his normal eyes, they would still switch colors. The whites of his eyes become yellow, and his eye color becomes black. He looks a lot like Jax from the Amazing Digital Circus, to be honest. By the way, I once saw a Tumblr post comparing Pomni to Jevil, and it didn't make too much sense to me. The only connection that they have really is that they're both jesters. Jax clearly resembles Jevil more. I don't fully remember the post, but I remember that one point they made was that Pomni's teeth were sharp for a split second, because Jevil's teeth are also sharp, but like, that also applies to Jax. And Jax has the added benefit of having his color scheme much closer to Jevil's. And Jax is a malevolent trickster with murder in his eyes, just like Jevil. I don't understand why if anyone wants to see Jevil in the Amazing Digital Circus, they see him in Pomni and not Jax. Anyway, sorry for the rambling, I needed to get that off my chest. Back to Jevil. Why does he have such a game theory jacket? Well, it goes all the way back to the CDs. CDs nuts. I wanted to add a rainbow line to match the cool effect that regular CDs have. But I couldn't make it entirely rainbow because that would be too much clutter. So I simplified it to just red, green and blue because that is what computer monitors work with. Fun fact, red, green and blue is actually my least favorite color combination. I just don't think that they look good just by themselves. And now they're causing me trouble because 2 new colors are added to Jevil's simple design. He originally had green. I did not want just a small part of his design to have colors that are nowhere else. So my solution to that is to add colors elsewhere on his design. I mostly added them to his jacket, but I also added a blue band on his hat to look like a regular guy hat. It actually took me a bit of time to figure out how to arrange these 3 colors on his jacket. But something that I realized pretty soon is that he needed to have lines on his sleeves. They're there so that Jevil's black sleeve can be read more easily with his black jacket, making poses easier to understand. I soon figured out how to arrange these stripes so that it doesn't overcomplicate the sleeve. The top of his sleeve is way thinner than the bottom, so it needed to be simpler. I made it so at the bottom, the green, red and blue are as wide as the sleeve itself. Then the higher they go, the thinner they become. The blue stripe goes all the way up until it disappears to the top of his sleeve. The red stripe stops at the elbow, and the green stripe is half the size of the red stripe. The sleeves do indeed look cool, but I struggled to figure out what to do with the front of his jacket. Eventually, I added a green chunk on top that resembles a hoodie top a little. I added it because it sits well with the CDs. And similar to the sleeves, I added red and blue stripes that shrink at the top. Or you can call them very thin triangles, I don't know. This time, they're both the same length. And if we go to the whole hoodie thing, they look a bit like the zipper. Now it's time for probably the least important part, since most likely I will be the only cunt who draws this Jevil. But, just in case someone else for some reason wants to draw him, I need to explain what stuff is just my art style and what is part of the design. For example, the colored outlines are not needed. I just don't like working with black outlines. You can draw them black if you want to. The eyelashes are also optional. Also, the jacket does not need to be this specific dark purple. I just don't like working with black. It can be black if you want to. Also, something very interesting is that I didn't change the legs between the Card Kingdom and Cyber City design, so you can draw them the way you usually draw Jevil's legs. But something very important is that Jevil's arms need to be shaped like that. It's not part of my art style. It's not like fundamental paper education where everybody's hands are thin at the top and wide on the bottom. I purposely made his arms look like that. I don't remember why I did that. I think it was to make him look more computery. But anyway, he looks cool, and he actually inspired me to make my persona's arms shaped like that for reasons that I don't want to tell you. But anyway, lastly, some of you keen-eyed viewers might be confused as to why there is a bow that I'm not explaining. Well, don't draw it. The bow kinda represents something between me and Jevil, so it would be very weird if someone else drew it on their version of Jevil. But what do you mean their version of Jevil? Isn't the redesign yours? Yeah, but if a different person drew it, the Jevil would have their own specific headcanons and lore. The bow is for a very important moment between me and Jevil, so if anyone draws it to Jevil who, dates Spamton or something, it would make me very uncomfortable. So either you're gonna work with the context of me and Jevil, or Jevil being by gender, or Jevil's birthday being on the 4th of November, happy birthday Jevil by the way, or I'm not gonna allow you to draw his bow. But anyway, now with all that done, I think I might be finished with Jevil. Wow! Now it's time for Spamton. Okay, so interesting shit just happened. Soon after I finished recording the Jevil segment, I have gotten sick, so my voice sounded nice and raspy, but also it started getting a bit hard to talk. But I didn't have time to waste because I have a strict deadline of 7th of November, so I set my ass back down to record at least some of the Spamton segments. But the millisecond I started recording, something happened to stress me out and distract me. It even happened when I was recording this part, but on a less severe scale. So I'm going to take this as a sign of the universe not wanting me to talk about Spamton. The universe always wanted me to think and be concentrated to Jevil, it was obvious since day one, but I didn't know that it didn't want me to talk about Spamton that badly. But the universe knows more than me, so I am going to listen. If you are a Spamton man, you might be disappointed, but you are not as disappointed as me. I wanted to yap. I wanted to talk about his eyeglasses, eyelashes, but now I cannot. I should not. I will not. But anyway, if you want to know more about the redesign, you can check out my Tumblr post, but right now the redesign looks like this. And now we're done with Spamton. Please, universe, be nice to me. I will try to record the outro another day, when I'm a little less sick. Hey, I'm not in much of a mood right now, but I won't have another opportunity to record audio, so I need to do this right now. If you like this video, then you're probably gonna like future videos that I make, so you can subscribe if you want to. I will make topics other than Deltarune. I cannot just talk whatever I want to. I will ask you very nicely if you can share this video wherever you can. It's gonna be a big help for my first video. If you wanna see more of me, then you can go to my Tumblr account. That's that one weird kid from school. I post every day there. I also post very often in the community Jevil fan club. You can join there if you want to. I don't want to talk anymore. And with that, I hope you enjoyed. Bladder, bladder, and goodbye.